In today's video, I'm going to be explaining how your personal freedom is under attack. Many of you may have heard the term net neutrality. It's essentially the principle that internet service providers have to enable all content and applications regardless of the source without any kind of restrictions or blocking, so everything is available to everyone. And this affects pretty much everything you do. We're in a really advanced age now where you need to use internet for pretty much anything, and all that comes from your ISP or internet service provider. That could be something really basic like browsing the internet, streaming something, or maybe downloading a game, updating a game, playing online multiplayer. All of this revolves around you relying on your ISP. Now, as of late, net neutrality has actually come under attack. The FCC, or Federal Communications Commission, actually want to abolish the entire concept of net neutrality. Now, this has mainly come forward because a lot of big ISPs like AT&T, Verizon and Comcast all see that the net neutrality rule is too heavy-handed, so it will stifle innovation. But as I'm going to explain later in the video, losing net neutrality is possibly one of the worst things that could ever happen since the birth of the internet. But firstly, the basics. For example, net neutrality can't be changed at the moment because it falls under a type 2 classification, which means it's a utility. Say, for example, water. You know what water is, right? So in layman's term, when something's a utility, it can be charged for its use, but not what it's used for. So for example, if I were to use 1 gigabyte of internet, I'd be charged for that gigabyte of internet. It wouldn't matter what I actually used it for, whether it was for streaming, downloading something, or Now this is the real kicker. If net neutrality didn't exist, and it wasn't a concept, ISPs could make you pay a premium fee to access certain sites. Take, for example, really basic sites that you'd use, like Netflix or Google. They could make you pay a fee just to access them sites, and if you didn't want to pay the fee, they could totally block the page or slow it to a crawl, so every search you put in would take about 5 minutes to buffer. That was a bit of hyperbole there, having to wait 5 minutes for a search result, but still, I hope you get the idea of where I'm coming from. Implementing the removal of net neutrality would hurt every single consumer, and it would really only benefit the 0.1%, the big CEOs of these ISP companies. Now, this notion is mainly being spearheaded by Ajit Pai, the current FCC chairman, and he's saying that the internet wasn't broke in 2015. So his main case is that by removing net neutrality, the internet becomes simpler and less broken. It's quite ironic you say that, Ajit, because there's been numerous cases in 2015 of ISPs abusing their power. Like, for example, Verizon blocking apps, AT&T sold sponsored data for better access to customers, and Comcast were excusing its apps from data caps. Now, even though the current FCC administration wants to pull away net neutrality, ironically in 2015 they were the people to introduce it.
Today, history is being made by a majority of this commission as we vote for a fast, fair, and open internet.
So today was a big day. We saw Title II as the new authority for an open internet. Municipal broadband cannot be banned by local legislatures.
And again, I need to reiterate, taking away net neutrality does no good for the common person, for the consumer. It hurts them. It can almost be seen as an act where ISPs are trying to extort money from sites. They pay a premium to let consumers access their site, and if they don't, it's the consumer that has to pay. So it's definitely a descending ladder of the ISP sitting there up at the top, while the consumer down below definitely has to pay the price for their ridiculous actions. A perfect example of a medium between the ISP and the consumer that bent over and spread their cheeks was Netflix. In 2014, Netflix were pro net neutrality, but now, because Netflix is such a big monolithic company, much more than when they were back in 2014, they've gone quiet. They're not really as outspoken as they used to be on the whole situation of net neutrality, because they know it doesn't really affect them. It only affects the smaller companies and the consumers. And as a matter of fact, Netflix is now actually paying ISPs so they can have faster internet connections. Now, it's probably quite ironic, a British person in Britain complaining about an American problem in America that doesn't affect them. Well, the truth is, Britain tends to adapt a lot of things America do. We kind of copy them in a sense. And in all honesty, I would not be surprised in any way if this law by the FCC is passed, that Britain would adopt something similar. Which, by the way, is an absolutely terrifying thought, because my internet connection is already as low as it can possibly be, and if it is capped anymore, I probably got to immigrate country. And just in case none of this information has shooketh you yet, allow me to play a quick little montage of some tweets showing how terrible the situation is. Now this is probably the most important part of the video. Hopefully at this point you've been informed on the situation and you'll now be able to have a stance on it, whether you're for it or against it. If you want to combat this act that the FCC want to pass, I'll be leaving down in the description many links where you can email congressmen or email members of the FCC, so you'll then be able to take a stance, and hopefully with enough voices, the FCC may rethink this decision. Now, as I'm recording this video, July the 12th, which was yesterday, was actually the day where there was a big initiative to critique the FCC and send them all these emails telling them how terrible this idea was and how much it would just be crippling the consumer. Now, although that date has come and gone, you still need to put your voice in if you can, because the close-off date when the FCC stopped taking public feedback is actually the 17th of July. So even though the big initiative has passed, you've still got a couple days left before the FCC shuts off all public communication. The FCC will take in all the emails that have been given, and then they have to give a public response to some comments on August the 16th. And then later in the year there'll be a vote whether the act will get passed or refused. Just something else I wanted to add. I've been checking a lot of these sites I'm linking in the description where you can put in an email. Most of them have actually copy pasted an email for you already, and all you have to do is fill in your details and click send. Now, that is a good initiative. At this point in the game, it's probably best if you don't just send that email and you give it a read and check what you're actually sending. And also as well, maybe delete parts of that email, if not the entire thing, and type something up in your own words, something more genuine, because at this point the FCC have probably been sent tens of thousands of these emails, and although getting a lot of the same email may seem like it's sending a message, it just becomes empty words. So adding in your own would really bring some genuine meaning to the discussion. I'm mainly saying this because Ajit Pai, the FCC chairman I mentioned earlier, he actually went ahead to say what matters is the quality of the comments, not the quantity. So he's really trying to disprove the fact that there are so many people refusing this idea. So if there was some diversity in the emails being sent, it would definitely turn some more heads. That is what I'll be doing. Hopefully you'll be able to do the same thing as well. For any of you interested, this is what one of the sites looked like. The most popular one by far, Battle for the Net. As I mentioned before, the date, July the 12th, has already passed, but the cut-off date where the FCC stops receiving is actually on the 17th. Here's the email that they've put. It's a basic copy-paste email that's been sent thousands of times. Again, like I said, it's a very good email. I've read through it, but honestly, it might be in your best interest to add something on it to make it sure that it's your own email. Maybe something at the end, adding on how it might affect you in the situation. Whatever you can to make the email seem individual to yourself, because, you know, the FCC's probably been sent thousands of these and they're probably just not even bothered reading them at this point. There's also a lot more videos down below talking about net neutrality. It might be best you check them out if you still got some questions you need to be asked. I'll read the comments section down below and answer any questions if I can. Battle for the Net does list the main perpetrators of the people that basically want this act to go through, and they also do list all the companies that actually don't want to go through with it, that are fighting the cause. So it's really nice to see that all the companies, good and bad, are being listed, so you can really make your own decision.
Shout out to my boys at YoPone.
Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Apologies that this wasn't my regular video. I'm actually working on an ASAP right now. That should be out either tomorrow or the day after. Should be able to enjoy that. I know that this was a serious theme video, but I felt like it was something I had to talk about. I'm not in America myself, but if this law gets passed, it will be bad for everyone. And it would not surprise me if it rubbed off on other countries as well. such as the UK. Again, thank you to the 1% that made it to the end of this video. It's greatly appreciated. And a bigger thank you to everyone that took the initiative to actually email or share or just communicate about this situation. You're starting a conversation, and that's what's important.
Bruh.